welcome to the Time Warner Cable Channel 52 Prep Football Game of the Week. Tonight, the South High Rebels will host the North High Stars. Both teams are 3-5 this year, Dennis.
Well, Mark, I think both teams really need a victory tonight. You know, both teams have struggled recently. For South High, they've got to try to establish the running game. For North, same thing. But North's been more successful with Conley. Tonight, if he has a good game, he'll go over 1,000 yards. So I think both teams want to establish the run, and then that'll hopefully open up the pass.
Both teams run the ball very effectively, but the passing game has been a different story.
It really has, but I think for South High, Mark, they haven't been getting the protection for the quarterback, so they've been really struggling. And when you can't run the football, teams tee off defensively. It's really difficult to throw. For North High, they just had some turnovers. That's been their problems in recent games. But tonight, I think they're going to go back to the running game. They have an advantage with their big offensive line, so they're going to try to muscle South.
It's homecoming at South High as the Rebels host the North Stars on Time Warner Cable Channel 52 with Mark and Dennis Heffernan.
In on all the football action with refreshing Coca-Cola Classic. This game is brought to you by your Coca-Cola bottler in Bakersfield. Always for the fans, always Coca-Cola.
It was a day like any other. Mom was baking her famous cinnamon rolls when suddenly the skies grew dark and the winds began to blow. There was no mistake, a cyclone was coming. We ran for cover just in time. And when we returned, the most incredible thing had happened.
Oh my!
With a taste that'd make your taste buds spin, people came from miles around for just one bite. And you will too, at Cinnamon Cyclone.
Cinnamon Cyclones is now open at 18th and Chester, so stop by. We'll make your taste buds spin.
Excuse me, is that tuxedo from AJ's?
Let AJ's get you noticed. A Bakersfield tradition for over 25 years, specializing in Pierre Cardin, Christian Dior, Oscar de la Renta, and Calvin Klein. AJ's Tuxedo Junction, with 3 great locations to serve you.
March down to Gottschalk's for terrific Veterans Day sales savings.
Check out our great selection of Mrs. and Petite's wool coats, just $99.99.
Selected men's velour shirts, now 30% off.
Royal Velvet Classic bath towels, only $6.99.
And for your holiday feasting, $49.99 buys your choice of a non-stick roaster or 2-piece carving set.
Plus, save an additional 10 to 20% with bonus coupons.
So get the troops together and double time it to the Veterans Day sale, only at Gottschalk's.
And good evening from South High School. Welcome to the Prep Football Game of the Week on Time Warner Cable Channel 52 tonight. A matchup between the South High Rebels and the North High Stars. Both teams at 3-5 coming into tonight's game. We've seen North a couple of times this year against East, and when they were ripped by Centennial, a game they were very close at the half, but Centennial's power has basically dominated them in the final 2 quarters.
Well, Mark, this is a really important game for South High because they need to try to establish something, at least get some confidence. But in this game here, it's a natural rivalry. These teams have been playing each other really since the 50s. So tonight, I think we're going to see both teams want to establish the running game. And whoever really can establish the running game and become more successful at that, I think then maybe the pass can open up a little bit. And we really know after watching North this year that Hatton has been effective throwing the football, so we'll see what happens.
The kickoff underway. It's a game between the Rebels and the Stars, so they're playing for the sword. There's Seiler across the 22, about the 21. Number 33 for North. Remember that game against Centennial? They took the opening kickoff. That's Dustin Traylon. Seiler took the opening kickoff to the Centennial 10-yard line, and the Golden Hawks defense stiffened up. North did not score, and the North, of course, had a chance with 1st and goal at the 4 and ran 3 consecutive times against the Golden Hawks and fumbled on 3rd down. And basically in the second half, it was all Centennial. They had momentum.
Right. And I think in this game, though, it's important for North to get out here, get behind their big offensive line, try to run the football, and try to establish some continuity and some momentum.
Adding the quarterback for the Stars. Inside handoff to Conley. He's up to about the 22, 23-yard line. This is homecoming for South High tonight. Rebels in that pale blue and white, and North, of course, red pants, white jerseys, and red letters. Both compete in the Southwest Yosemite League. And as you mentioned, they've been around since the 1950s, so this is a long-standing rivalry. 2nd and 9 early here in the 1st quarter between North and South. Stars primarily run-oriented team. Number 21, the ball carrier, puts his head down across the 30, and it's very close to the first down if he doesn't have it. Number 88, Ted Appin making the tackle for South High. Jason Conley, one of the top runners in the area, taking that ball.
We know about him, and of course he has that excellent speed. He can get to the outside quickly, and he also has the toughness to mark the run inside too, so he's kind of a dual-purpose type runner.
Number 21 also plays on defense. Wide to the left for North, Larry Birch, 5'10", 150. Tim Haddon, number 16, a quarterback. Bobby Boyce was a starter this year. Side handoff, but that's to number 34. He looked pretty good against Centennial. Jason Small. He's a 210-pound fullback. Across the 32, about to 34. North will try to keep it on the ground, establish that running game. Unfortunately, against some teams that are very large up front, like Centennial or BHS, it's very difficult to run on every down, especially throughout the second half. You have to open it up once a bit. Come out with two receivers to this side, Neal and Larry Birch. And we like Neal as an all-around player for North at 1st and 10. Jason Conley in the backfield barely gets to the line of scrimmage. Tackled there by number 64. And Seth Langston, 250-pound down lineman for South. South averages about 240, 250 across the defensive front. So they have some size up front. 10 minutes to play in the first half. First quarter, I should say. 2nd and 10, so no gain for North High in that play.
Well, Mark, so far as we can see, as this game's developing, North High is trying to stick to the ground game and get their running game going and try to run behind their big offensive line.
There's a play action. Haddon to throw, good protection. Fires over the middle, complete to Neal. First down in South Territory at the 40-yard line. Scott Neal, number 83, who was very quiet in the last game we did, but he has good size. 6'2", 180. Nice bullet pass from him by Haddon. Had time to throw and rifle it.
Well, Mark, that's the effect of being able to run the football. The quarterback had a little bit more time, and he rifled a 26-yard gain right down the middle. That was just really a simple post pattern. Beat his man one-on-one.
1st and 10 for the Stars. Split backs behind Haddon. The cross to Conley. Cut back and tackled at the 38-yard line in South High territory. Making the initial hit, number 51 for South High, and that would be Brooke Miller.
Well, Mark, if you watch South's defense right now, they have a lot of men, 8 or 9 men up front in the box area, really trying to stop the North running game. So I think you're going to see single coverage on the outside, and I believe that North can really expose that. Haddon, if he gets time to throw, because he's getting single coverage on his receivers right now.
We know that Larry Birch, flank wide to the left, has good speed. They're single covering him with no safety back there. The pitch back to Small. Cuts back across the 35. Bowls forward to about the 33. It'll be 3rd and short for North High. And in that situation, the safeties were plugged towards the middle, so it was one-on-one with the Birch to the outside.
Well, Mark, they're really playing almost even a 10-man front. I mean, they're really going to make an effort, a conscious effort to really stop North's running game. They want Haddon to throw the football. They feel comfortable and confident that they can handle Birch one-on-one in the secondary, and they really believe that North's the running team and that they're in a situation right now, a position right now where they want to stop the run and force them to throw and throw long.
Darrell Darlington one-on-one, the right corner for South High. 8 minutes to play, first quarter. It's a nice play action, Haddon to throw. It is complete on the far side, about the 27-yard line. Will it be a first down? The yard mark goes down. Looks like a first down for North High. 1st and 10 for the Stars. So they're keeping it on the ground, mixing it up with the pass. Has some big pass plays in this drive. The one over the middle to Neal, and this completion here. So it's 1st and 10 at the South High 27-yard line. North on the move here in the first quarter.
Well, Mark, we know that Haddon could throw. We saw him throw successfully against East Bakersfield earlier. If you single cover the receivers and he gets time, he will throw the football.
Small and Conley behind Haddon. 1st and 10. Small. They drag him down across the 25 to the 24. As he powers his way forward, didn't have much there, but used his strength to gain a couple. Sergeant Duff with the tackle for South High. 2nd, we call it 6 or 7 yards for North High. Number 71 for North. Carries a lot of beef. 6'2", 330. Senior right tackle for North High. Can't miss him. Number 71. 7 minutes to play in the first quarter. North on the move. 2nd and 7. Neal wide to the right. With Small and Conley, the running backs in I formation behind Haddon. There's a play action. Good fake. Rao going to his right. Fires it under duress, complete to Small. Now they call it incomplete at the 20-yard line. Good pressure by South High on Hatton. The 35 moving in there. That would be Marcus Rivera and company.
Mark, also number 51, Brooke Miller, 6'5", 200-pound defensive right end, and also put the pressure on Hatton. So again, on that was a rollout to the right, and South got good pressure that time, and forced Hatton to throw the ball a little bit before he wanted to in that situation. Fury to throw, and was basically thrown complete. I really like North's offensive strategy here. They're going to try to run the football, but if the running game is covered well by South, they can't throw the football. So he's coming out throwing here in the first quarter, O'Brien.
Sam McLaughlin wide to the right for North. Mix up in the backfield. Hatton gets away now. Throws on the run. Complete to Burks on the far side. First down for North High. Nice quick thinking by quarterback Tim Hatton. They basically bounced it to his running back. They able to get away from the pressure. Rolled to his left. Hit a wide open Larry Birch on the left side for the first down. It would be 1st and 10 outside the 10 at the 12-yard line for North High. 6:35 to play. Aaron Cole, check that, number 27. Bobby Turney wide to the right for North. Conley with a sweep, cuts back. Has a few yards inside the 10, maybe to the 7-yard line. Jason Conley, one of the top runners in the area. Gained quite a few yards this year for North. Also does a great job defensively. Blocked the punt this year and picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown.
Well, Mark, he's tremendously quick. He can go to the outside. He can stop on a dime. He can cut back against the grain. And when you get that passing game going like North High has right now, it really loosens up that interior defense, and now North is able to run the football very well.
And of course, against East High, we saw him return the interception for a touchdown. Timeout North with 6:01 to play in the first quarter. No score as North has its 2nd and 6 inside the South red zone here in the first quarter. Both teams 3-5 this year. Jack O'Brien, head man at North High, and Steve Falk, the head coach at South High.
You know, Jack O'Brien this year has really made a commitment to run the football. Of course, when he came to North High as a head coach, he was a little bit like Ned Fermenter as far as philosophy, because he really believes that the best way to win a football game is keep the ball in the ground and just control the clock, mark time of possession. He feels having the balls put up in the air, a lot of things bad can happen. Incompletes is one, interceptions is another. And so he really feels a north-south attack, which is run the football to the middle with big physical linemen and quick physical backs, is really the way to go. And he's really brought that system to North.
I think that's a good system, but when you face a team that has lines bigger than yours and they're quick, it doesn't work as well. So it's not really a system that works against every team you play, and I believe you have to adapt to your opponent. So I would agree that would work against most teams, but not everybody. 2nd and 5 for North High. Hatton to Conley, cuts back, stays on his feet. To be shy of the first down, it'll be 3rd and short. I mean, when you can dominate a team in the trenches, I think it's a very safe system, but when you're playing an elite team, it doesn't work as well.
Mark,
3rd and 3.
Excuse me, Mark, 2 players that are playing very well tonight for South, the down lineman Seth Miller. Number 51 has done a fine job at right defensive end.
Seth Miller at 5:35 to play in the first quarter. Bobby Turney wide to the right for North High, split backs behind Hatton. Conley. Hatton on the keeper to the 10, 5-yard line. Looks for the block. Touchdown, North High. Great fake by Tim Hatton. Take the ball, giving it to Jason Conley on the other side. On the bootleg. Roll out to his right. Really had the defense in disarray as he ran it inside the flag.
Mark, that was a great call by Coach O'Brien, because that really fooled everybody. They've been giving the ball to Conley the whole game, and that time he faked a run to the left and then rolled to his right, and really that was a run all the way, and he took it into the end zone. So it was a great fake by the quarterback.
The whole flow of the offense was going left. The kick is up by Bobby Boyce, who is a great kicker. He has a tremendous leg, number 7 for North. He's a backup quarterback. 5:18 to play in the first quarter, 7-0 in favor of the Stars over the Rebels. Both teams need a victory tonight.
Right, and Hatton there showed some good speed, rolling to his right and then running the football in. Great fake, really had the defense going to the right, geared to the right on that play. The whole pursuit was going that way, and he just took it back the other way.
You know, he had a good game against East High and probably his first start, but when you play a team like Centennial BHS, it takes away a lot of your strengths. And he simply did not have time to throw against Centennial. He was throwing under duress, and As you know, they couldn't run the ball very effectively, so in the second half he was passing on every down and really did not have an opportunity to do anything. One thing, the receivers couldn't get open against very quick Centennial DBs.
Well, of course, you know, he's a junior quarterback, and when we saw him, it was really the second or third game of the year. So as he's gotten more game experience, you can see the improvement. He's much more confident running the offense. You can see when he's throwing the football, he's more confident with his receivers. And also on that last play where he took the ball and you know, made a good fake to Conley and then rolled to his right and scored, that showed a lot of poise and confidence there. So you can see he's really handling the offense quite a bit better now, as we see him here late in the year.
Well, his ball handling skills have definitely improved during the course of the year. Tonight's game is sponsored by Coca-Cola, Cinnamon Cyclone, God Shocks, and AJ's Tuxedo Junction. North and South on Time Warner Cable Channel 52. If you'd like a duplicate of tonight's game, you can call Time Warner Productions at 322-1941. 322-1941. Adam's been very good on the opening drive for North High, as Boyce will kick off for the Stars. Left-footed booms it through the end zone, and South will take that their own 21st and 10. So the Rebels trying to get something going against North High tonight, midway through the first quarter.
Mark, I thought the South High defense played very well in that first series for North. They really stacked everybody up into the box defensively. Had a lot of men up the line of scrimmage, 8 and 9 men. Linebackers were pinched in to really stop the run. And then Hatton was able to throw the football a little bit, loosen up some of the defense. And then they were able to pass the ball and came down with the score.
Well, they handled the offense very well. Joey Mayfield, the quarterback for South, throwing for over 500 yards this year. Inside handoff, and the North Stars up to the task. 1-on-1 coverage here in front of us. Hutsucker was one of the better two-way players for South High, fullback and also linebacker, the ball carrier for the Rebs.
Well, Mark, it's very difficult when you go both ways, especially in a tough position as inside linebacker. Come out on the offense and try to run the football. And I think he tends probably to tire a little bit as the game goes on. Over 400 yards this year, but it's really difficult when you're a running back and a linebacker to play the whole game without some kind of rest.
Coultry wide to the left of South High, 4:42 to play. The pitch back. North swinging it out very well. Runner stumbles forward to about the 25-yard line. Number 43, the ball carrier for South High. As Hunsucker, he heard that twice on the series. 30 or 40 carries in one game this year, probably early in the season. At a 4:20 mark, third and a long 4 for South. Nick Hobson into the game for the Rebs. Receivers to this side, one to the other. Trying to shorten a passing situation at third and a short 4. Inside handoff to about the 29, they'll be shy of the first down. And it would be punting time for South High. So they try to beat North up the middle. They try to fool the Stars, and North was up to the task. They're calling it first down at the 30. Their first and 10 for South High at the 30-yard line. North needs a 7-0, 3:55 to play here in the first quarter. Mayfield looking to the sidelines for his play. The messenger being Gansita.
Well, Mark, so far here in the first series for South High, they're trying to establish the run of Hunsucker left, Hunsucker right, Hunsucker up the middle. So we'll see if they stick with that plan of attack or whether they bury it, get a little passing game going.
Belfry wide to the left for South. Interesting formation. With 2 players in motion. And that'll be a flag against South High. The pass is complete to the other side. A nice hit by Neal for North High. But South High have 2 players in motion. And 5 yards assessed against the Rebs at 3:19 of the first quarter. Yeah, we saw BHS last week, and they made some little mistakes in the first half. In fact, a very close game. They led Foothill 7-0, and then they somewhat blew out the Trojans in the second half as they really dominated the offensive and defensive lines.
Or you could say Darryl McCoy dominated in the second half, couldn't you? Over 200 yards rushing. He just had a fine game. He made so many great individual runs last week.
He definitely did. He really was a game saver for Bakersfield High. Remember, they had 1 touchdown called back due to the penalty. 2nd and 9 for South High. The draw play to Hunsucker. Barely gets back to the 30-yard line. So North containing very well on defense. And it'll be 4th down for South High. Homecoming at the Rebel Stadium on the South High campus. South High bringing a lot of players in and out of the game as the clock winding down in the first quarter.
Well, Mark, I think right now South's in a position at 3rd and 9 where they really have to try to throw the football. They haven't had any success. One attempt already with illegal procedure, but it's really a passing situation at 3rd and 9, so we'll see what they do here.
Peltry wide to the left for South High. Shotgun, low snap. Mayfield to throw it. It's high, tipped up in the air, and almost complete to Peltry. Tipped up in the air by number 40 for the Stars, and that would be Kenny Sousa. Saw him in action against Centennial. Punting time for South High, 2:09 to play in the first quarter. That almost was a completion for South. They needed a break like that if they were punting it to North High. 33 back for the Stars, and Dustin Krellen.
Mark, Joey Mayfield, number 11, 5'9", about 165. He's more effective when he can roll out because he's a little bit shorter. He can see the field better. That was a tough throw there. He threw the ball in double coverage, and North made a fine defense play and knocked the ball away.
South a punt from their own 15-yard line. North coming fairly well. Ball off to the right side. Let's see who has a good bounce. It is a South High bounce. Goes inside the 30 to about the 29-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Stars at their own 29. They lead at 7-0 here late in the first quarter at Rebel Stadium. And a nice punt by Nick Hobson, number 6 for South High. No run back.
Well, that's what
we talked about the importance of special teams throughout the season. And they've meant quite a bit in some of the close games. The end result have not been a lot of close games that we have seen, but they've been close through 3 quarters or so.
Well, I think if you look at all the teams that we've done this year, you see 2 teams have done very good on special teams. That's Bakersfield and Centennial. And that's one of the reasons why both teams are
well, they're ranked 3 and 4 in the Central section, behind Buchanan and Redwood, respectively. Jason Conley on the sweep to the 30-yard line, 35 and up to about the 37. As he puts his head forward, goes to the Rebel defense. Jared Duck assisting on the tackle for South High.
Mark, one player who's been really outstanding for North here in the first quarter, right tackle Chris Woods. He's really done a good job offensive blocking for Conley. And it's really opened up some nice holes for Conley, especially when Conley sweeps to the right.
The 330-pound right tackle for North High. Number 71. Small Conley behind Hatton. Conley with the pitch. Puts his head down to about the 38-yard line. Very short gain. It'll be 3rd down for North High. Unsucker on the tackle for South High.
Mark, 2 other players for North have been very good tonight. Offensive line, John Hook, number 58, and number 64, Danny Thomas, only a sophomore. And they did a fine job on the offensive line for North High tonight.
1:05 to play in the first quarter from Rebel Stadium. North High leading at 7-0. Neal wide to the right for the Stars. He will face single coverage. The South bottling it up very well defensively. Inside handoff to Small. He's up close to the 40-yard line. Depends on the spot. Looks like he has a 1st down. And they are awarding him a 1st down. 50 seconds to play in the first quarter. 1st and 10 for North at their own 40-yard line.
Well, again, Mark, South High defensively has 8 or 9 men in the box. In the interior line, really trying to stop North's running game, and they're really single covering the Stars receiver. That time, the right split in, Stars being single covered by number 32 for South, Derek Hembry.
And we have the same situation here with Larry Birchwhite to the right, split backs. Inside handoff to Small, powers his way across the 43 to about the 44. As North showing some different looks tonight. The clock winding down the first quarter. It'll be 2nd and 7 for North at their own 44-yard line. Had looked in the sidelines for the play from Jack O'Brien and company.
Mark, 2 outstanding players for North on the defensive line is number 51, Brooke Miller, and number 64, Seth Langston. These 2 players are fine interior linemen and done a fine job tonight.
After 1 quarter from Rebel Stadium, it's North High 7, South High nothing on Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Excuse me, is that tuxedo from AJ's?
Let AJ's get you noticed. A Bakersfield tradition for over 25 years, specializing in Pierre Cardin, Christian Dior, Oscar de la Renta, and Calvin Klein. AJ's Tuxedo Junction, with 3 great locations to serve you.
March down to Gottschalk's for terrific Veterans Day sales savings.
Check out our great selection of Mrs. and Petite's wool coats, just $99.99.
Selected men's velour shirts now 30% off.
Royal Velvet Classic bath towels, only $6.99.
And for your holiday feasting, $49.99 buys your choice of a non-stick roaster or two-piece carving set.
Plus, save an additional 10 to 20% with bonus coupons.
So get the troops together and double time it to the Veterans Day sale, only at Gottschalk's.
Nothing compared to what it feels like to give in.
Powerade. Power to working muscles when you need it.
I am not done.
Get back into the game with Powerade. This game is brought to you by Powerade and your Coca-Cola bottler in Bakersfield. Powerade, you are not done.
It was a day like any other. Mom was baking her famous cinnamon rolls when suddenly the skies grew dark and the winds began to blow. There was no mistake, a cyclone was coming. We ran for cover just in time. And when we returned, the most incredible thing had happened.
Oh, my.
With a taste that'd make your taste buds spin, people came from miles around for just one bite. And you will too, at Cinnamon Cyclone.
Cinnamon Cyclones is now open at 18th and Chester, so stop by. We'll make your taste buds spin.
We begin the second quarter of play on Time Warner Cable Channel 52 with North leading 7-0 over South. And they face a 2nd and 7 situation at their own 44 as they move right to left here in the second quarter. Hatton calling signals at quarterback for North. There's a play action. The pass in the flat is incomplete, off the hands of Conley. Maybe had a shot at it. That was on the far side, so maybe it was a tough attempted reception for Jason Conley, number 21.
Well, Mark Hatton took a 5-step drop, had time to throw the ball into the flat. Conley really had the ball, basically just dropped it. He did have Hunsicker, the linebacker, beat by a step, so if he had completed that pass, that would have been some big yardage down the right sideline.
You know, when Hatton has time to throw, he's a good-looking quarterback. He sets up well and has a nice form and throws the ball.
Well, I like the matchup because really Hunsicker can't really cover Conley in the open flat, so I really think North had the advantage in the matchup.
We have Turney wide to the left of North. The I formation behind Hatton. Sets up quickly. The pass a little bit high, incomplete to Neal on the other side. Scott's about 6'1", but he had to climb the ladder that time. 4th down and punting time for North High. So he had too much juice on that throw.
Well, Mark, number 65 for South Westridge, really took pressure on Hatton that time. The defensive down lineman, and forced him to throw the ball a little bit before he wanted to, and as a result, he overthrew his receiver.
Yeah, he had too much zip, too much adrenaline on that throw. 4th and 7 for North. Boyce to punt from his own 30. High snap. He gets by him. He can't get it off. Now North falls on it, and South brings it down to 30, so the Rebels will have excellent field position at the North High 30-yard line. Bad snap to Boyce. All he could do was fall on it. And South High very alert defensively. He has a chance to do something here in this drive at the North 30-yard line.
We'll mark the first mistake of the game by either team. First turnover, again, a special teams type mistake. Boyce, who's really been very consistent, solid. Punting the ball this year, just really dropping right in his hands there, and thereby gives South great position at the North 30-yard line. 1st and 10 with 11:16 left in the second quarter.
But of course you have to do something with it. Take advantage of those turnovers. So hand off to number 4, and he's dragged down from behind to 36. So Connie Burrell for South. And North, an excellent penetration in the backfield. And he loses some major yardage, about 5 or 6, back to the 36-yard line in North High territory.
Well, Mark,
2nd and 15 for South.
Excuse me, Mark. Number 46, Chris Johnson, the defensive end, 5'10", 170 for North, came up and made the great tackle on that play.
They really penetrated in the backfield. 11-12 to play in the first half. 7-0 North. South with the ball. 2nd and 15 at the North 36 after losing 5 yards. Shotgun. Mayfield throwing it. Complete to Hunsucker, 30 to the 25. Tripped up. Stays on his feet inside the 20 to about the 16. It is a first down for South High.
Mark, again, that was a nice throw by Mayfield. He rolled to his right. Being 5'9", he's more successful rolling out away from the pocket. So he can see his defense better. You can also see his receivers better. That he rolled to his right, made a nice pass for about a 15-yard gain. First down to Unsucker.
Austin White to the right for South. Double slots. Like a fumble in the interior, the 50-yard line. Who has it? North thinks they do. And the officials have called it in favor of North High.
Well, Mark, now we have a turnover this time by South High, so we're evened up on turnovers 1-1. But that there was a situation where the quarterback, Mayfield, really never got the ball from the center. He just fumbled the snap, and North recovered it. So it was an interior lineman who recovered it. So first down for North at their own 15-yard line.
And first and 10 for the Stars. 10:23 to play in the first half. So South does not take advantage of that turnover against North. Inside handoff, the Rebels really sticking on defense as the play just gets back to the last year.
Mark, that was number 51, Brooke Miller, who made the tackle that time. But, you know, it's really unfortunate because South really had good field position. They had just gotten a turnover, and they were moving the ball down the field. And then you have a poor snap from the center to the quarterback. Mayfield never really got the snap back, fumbled the ball, and it really wasn't forced. And it was a situation where you turn the ball over, and you really get into a position here where you don't get any points on the board, and that's kind of a moral deflator there.
Antonio Lopez Hutchison covering Neal on the left side. 9:40 to play in the first half. Pitch back behind Conley. It's a nice juke move. He's down to the 16-yard line. Good one-on-one tackle by number 4. This is Connie Burrell. So Connie Burrell, number 4, making the tackle. One-on-one.
Mark, also Chad Applin was on the play too. That was the situation there where Conley did have some room to run there, but the toss back from the quarterback Hatton was behind him, and he had to wait for the ball, and thereby the defense was able to come up in the pursuit, help bring him down. So that was a situation where they just made maybe about a half yard. But
I think South played it very well defensively.
Right. But you know, when you run
that on the films before,
when you run that option, everything has to really be in sync. The timing has to be down pat. When you're a quarterback, you have got to know when to toss it and when to keep it. That time he tossed it, and really it was probably would have been better off just keeping the ball and running up the middle for a couple yards.
3rd and 10 for the Stars. Haddon the throw, slips momentarily, fires it out there. Neal comes back for it. He has it 1st and 10 for North. Nice offensive play by Scott Neal, 83.
Well, Mark,
the throw was somewhat behind him. He came back and blocked off the defensive player and made the reception.
Mark, that was number 14 on defense, Antonio Lopez Hutchinson. But again, he was playing the man and not the ball and did not turn around. And you've got to look for that ball. When that receiver turns his head to look for the ball, the defensive back has to turn his head too and look for the ball too. He played the man and just didn't know where he was on the field, thereby a nice completion for North High.
Well, Scott Neal's a very good athlete, 6'2", 180, and he's looked good in most of the games for North. He's a fine receiver, can run from the wing-back position out of the backfield, a defensive back, and he made a play himself, so he's got good size for a receiver. On first down, North only runs it for about a yard or two after the reception by Scott Neal. 8:20 to play in the first half, 7-0 North High.
Well, Mark, we see right here, though, North has come out early in this game and has really, I think, established a run at least enough to keep South honest. But South continues to keep a lot of guys up at the line of scrimmage in the box, in the interior line. And their passing game has really been very successful for North tonight. Hatton has really come out throwing here in the second quarter. So South might need to make some adjustments at halftime to maybe double cover a few of their receivers. Because single coverage, they're not doing a good job.
And a penalty flag. It is against North High. 2nd and long for the Stars. Neal without reception. You know, he can throw very effectively to Neal and also to their other receiver, Larry Birch, to the outside, but it's just a matter of whether Hatton has time to throw or not.
Well, tonight he's been getting some good time to throw, Mark, and one of the reasons number 76, Billy Shearer, senior guard, 5'11", 195, and a 5-jump on the offensive line. So really North is giving Hatton good protection tonight, and there's many minutes playing on the defensive front for South High. They're really not getting to the quarterback. He's getting time to throw, and he's able to step up and complete some nice passes down
They're
the
playing
field.
more run defense than type of pass rush defense where they're kind of locked in on the runners. I mean, the front 7 or 8 defensively. They're not really rushing the quarterback, though. Kind of a contained type of defense, I would think.
Well, I guess when you've got someone like Conley who runs for over 900 yards this year, you know, you pick one man for the North offense that you want to stop. South has made a commitment to hold Conley down. And so far, they've done an adequate job here in the first half of keeping him from running wild. But what North's been able to do under Hatton, the junior quarterback, is been able to throw the football more effectively than we saw him earlier. And his receivers have been single covered and been open, but he's been hitting them too. You've got to get the ball to him. And
on the high snap on 4th down for North, South had a chance to gain some points out of the first down to North 30 and then fumble it back. So that's a major miscue for them. 33 to the outside, inside the 50 to about the 47. Nice tackle on the far side. Looked like Krellin had a chance to gain some real estate. And Linder making the tackle for South at 3rd and 9. So it looked like he had a chance to gain some more yardage, possibly pick up a first down, and a fine defensive play by the South High Rebel.
Well, I don't think we're going to see South change their defensive strategy at this point, Mark, only being behind 7-0. North's going to have to put more points on the board before they come out of that defensive alignment they're in right now, where you have 8 or 9 men in the box. And defensively, I think they're going to stay with that right now.
Justin Woltz in the slot for North, Neal wide to the left. Hatton, looks like he's been thrown looking to the left. The pass over the middle, incomplete. Nice play by number 21 for South High, and it's Greg Linder.
My friend, Jason, Greg Linder.
That was a good play. The pass intended for Scott Neal would have been a tough reception nonetheless. And so, 4th down and 9. Looks like North will be punting. Bobby Boyce doing honor, standing inside his 40 at the 38. 7:08 to play in the first half, 7-0 North. South would like a block or maybe a fine run back. High snap, barely gets it off. Beautiful kick. Comes to the 20-yard line, 1st and 10 for the South High Rebels.
Well, Mark, South High now is playing a little bit deeper in the secondary now because especially they're trying to watch North High tonight. North High now starting to throw the ball a little bit more, so South is dropping a little bit deeper now in more of the zone coverage. But that last situation Hatton there, he really looked where he was throwing that ball all the way, and Linder really saw his eyes and really made a nice play and came up and knocked the ball down. When you're a quarterback, you've got to look off the receiver a little bit so you don't get that defensive man an edge so he knows where you're going to throw the football.
Somewhat telegraphed. South with receivers to each side. Behind Mayfield. North defense looked befuddled momentarily. His pass incomplete, throws it behind his intended receiver. And that would be number 4 for South, Connie Burrell. So South basically flooding both sides, have the defense in motion. So the pass incomplete. 6:58 to play in the first half.
Well, Mark, one player who's done a good job for North tonight defensively, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback is Shane McLaughlin, the senior linebacker at 6'2", 240. He's done a fine job putting pressure on Mayfield tonight.
And he's number 41 for North High. 2nd and 10 for the Rebels. Stars playing pretty close to the line of scrimmage, inside handoff. Hunsucker across to 30, dives forward to about the 34-yard line, has the first down.
Mark, I think that's good strategy for North because South has not really had a real potent offensive attack tonight, either passing or throwing the football, really all year. So I think if you're North, really Hunsucker is really their key offensive man. And what you want to do is you want to play inside and jam up the interior and make South High throw the football because they're much more successful when they can run the ball.
When that situation, South had receivers flanked to each side and they ran up the middle. Somewhat threw North off guard. 1st and 10 for the Rebs. Hunsucker again, up to about the 35-yard line. Short gain of 2 yards. It looked like there was somewhat of a mix-up in the backfield, but worked out for a couple of yards for South, 2nd and 8.
Yes, with that defense that North's playing tonight, getting some good penetration on the defensive line. It's going to be very difficult for South, Mark, really, to run the ball all the way down the field and score. If they really want to pick a play, they're really going to have to look at the pass. I think he's been somewhat successful, Mayfield, rolling out in front, and I think you got to try to continue that tonight.
Then Ceta wide to the right for South High, covered by Neal at 2nd and 8. Lomax in motion. Keeper by Mayfield, tries to split the defense and goes down to the 38-yard line. Number 40, and that would be Kenny Souza. And also 33 Krellin for North, kind of sandwiching the quarterback as they came up very quickly to the ball. 3rd and 6 for South High.
Yeah, North showing good team speed tonight, Mark, defensively. And we said earlier this year when we saw them play against East Bakersfield that their team speed has improved a lot over last year. They seem to be much quicker to the ball, and defensively they're a lot faster than they were last year. And that's really helped their defense this year, I think. And they seem to be a little bit quicker than the South offense. And so those wide plays have not been very effective for South. I think South might have more success with maybe a play-action pass and rolling out a little bit.
Well, one thing you can't teach or coach is speed. You really either have it or you don't. And I guess the same thing would be aggressiveness too. You know, it's a matter of getting to the ball quicker than somebody else, getting from point A to point B, flowing out on a screen pass or a wide sweep, containing on defense. 5:32 to play in the first half. 9 yards to go for a first down for the Rebels. Peltry wide to the left for South High, as they have 2 receivers in front of us. Along the left hash mark for South. 7-0 in favor of North. Now showing a lot of formations. Mayfield now rolling to his right. Heavy rush, throws it up in the air. Mills the closest one to it. It's incomplete in front of the South High bench. That was a play where he rolled out to his left and reversed his direction, but North really put the heat on Mayfield. And he basically just flipped it out. Hopefully nobody was.
Well, yes, but I think they have the right ideas. They got to get the ball up into the air because it's going to be very difficult to run the football. And their one good opportunity they did have, there was a bobbled snap from quarterback Mayfield to the center, Robert Farmer, and they just bobbled the ball and fumbled on the North 15-yard line. That was really their only opportunity to score tonight.
Shotgun formation for South. Mayfield on the heavy rush. Eludes a tackle. Now goes to his left to the 30-yard line. I don't think he got the first down. I think he stepped out of bounds. Just in front of the mark on the far side. With 5:05 to play in the first half. It's a 4th down situation for South, but I guess they were punting it away as the ball's at their own 44-yard line.
Well, Mark, that's a tough call. 4th and about a half a yard. I know you've got to be tempted to go for that. Really in this situation, being 3-5 for the year, why not go for it? And they are going for it, which I think they should.
Looks like they are going for it. Mayfield could probably call a long count one. This is quick. Side handoff to Hunsucker, I believe.
He did not make it, Mark.
Doesn't look like he made it. We'll see how they spot it. It's hard to see from our vantage point, which is off to the right. Of course, South High Rebels say it is a first down. The officials are analyzing the situation.
It does not look like a first down from this angle, though. It looks like he's short.
Let's bring out the chains.
That was a straight dive up the middle, but just didn't go anywhere. It didn't fool anybody. He probably should have kept maybe a little different formation because North knew where they were going, straight up the middle, and they had all their defensemen right there and plugged up the middle and made a nice stop.
I figured he would display a long count.
Oh.
It definitely is shy of the first down. I figured he'd have a long count and try to draw North off sides. But the Stars will take over in South High territory at the 43-yard line, 1st and 10 for North. After that play by South failed, 5 minutes to play in the first half. And now it's up to the South defense to contain the North Stars.
I like the idea of going for it, but I really don't necessarily like the call. I think if you're going to run that play, maybe a quarterback sneak would have been more effective. But when you have everybody in a full house backfield, you're just telling the defense where you're going to go with it, and they were all there.
Last week in the Foothill BHS game, 4th and 3 for Foothill at the BHS 40, and they called 1 or 2 timeouts, and the quarterback kind of rolled out to his right. It was not even an option play, and he lost 2 yards. Conley up to about the 41-yard line on somewhat of a delay handoff. We had to Conley, and South there to make the stop. Doing a good job defensively, South High.
Mark, you still don't look like that call last week that Foothill did. We've talked about that during the week, and it's still been a little something you've thought about since that time. I talked to one of the coaches after the game. He says, well, it was a hit or miss play.
I think when the ball's on the right side of the field against BHS, you have to do some kind of option. Run left, quarterback either cuts inside, pitches back, or play action. It's very difficult to make 3 yards against BHS or Centennial on the ground late in the ballgame. And as you know, Football didn't do much at all in the second half. Beaches dominated. Adam with the play action. The pass complete to the far side. Inside of 30 to about the 27-yard line goes Jason Small, 34. Number 34, pretty good athlete for North.
Well, Mark, what we talked about, a play action pass, and then Hatton rolls to his right. Nice pass in the flat. South High has not been able to cover that play well. You know, with everybody in the box or inside the offensive tackles trying to stop Conley, Hatton has had a lot of success tonight, Mark, rolling out and throwing the ball through the flats. Guys have been wide open. Single coverages by linebackers just not covering those receivers.
And as we talked about, you have to stretch the defense once in a while. Conley to about the 25-yard line. You have to give the defense more than one thing to look at. And that's what I was referring to about that call, but it's not my call. And BHS still would have won the game, so it doesn't really make any difference. But you have to look at what are your chances of being successful on that play against a certain team. Like I said, it's all about adapting. 3:45 to play in the first half, 7-0 North. As the Stars trying to get into that red zone against South High, 2nd and 9. Conley in the slot left. Single running back behind Hatton. And he has the ball. Get too far, maybe to the 25-26. It'll be 3rd and long for North. The South doing a good job playing defense up the middle. Rivera, one of the tacklers for South High.
Well, Mark, South has a lot of size in the defensive interior line, and North's had a difficult time moving them. They seem to be much stronger defensively, South, than they are offensively this year. And that's really kept them in a lot of the games. A lot of their games have been close. They just haven't been able to make the plays offensively, like tonight. They struggled a little bit offensively here in the first half.
And we have Birch and Neal to the left for North High. The ball's on the right hash mark. Hatton and company. A 3rd down. 3-step drop. Fires it over the middle. Incomplete. Somewhat behind Neal, who had a chance at it. The ball was thrown the opposite direction. And it'll be 4th down for North High. Leonard Boyce will try a long field goal attempt here. He has a leg for it. Now, he kicked the ball very well against East, but he missed a 27-yarder against Centennial. But he definitely has a leg to boot a 45 to 50-yarder.
Well, Mark, again, South, like you said, has done a good job on Conley here in the first half. That time Hatton went back to throw, had time, but just underthrew his receiver and threw a little bit behind him.
That's about a 44-yard attempt by Bobby Boyce, number 7. Snap is down. Definitely far enough. No good. Well, a soccer style from the left side, not successful. And the score remains 7-0 in favor of North over South with 2:46 to play in the first half.
Well, Mark, I think if you look here in the first half, I think North has really done what they've wanted to do. They've been able to run the ball somewhat effectively, and then when they've been able to not be able to get as many yards as they want, or if South's come up with some big plays defensively, they've been able to throw the football North a little bit. So they've had a balanced offensive attack here in the first half. Unfortunately for them, it's only been 7 points, but that's 7 points more than South has. South has just not been able to get anything going offensively here, and of course a couple of mistakes that they made have really hurt them. But they've still got a shot at 2:46 left at halftime.
And South calls a timeout at the 2:46 mark. Both teams 3 and 5 coming into the game. And it's a Southwestern Center League battle, homecoming for South High tonight, as they're playing for the Sword at Rebel Stadium. Steve Falk, the South High Rebels, Jack O'Brien, and the North High Stars.
Mark, 2 players on the South offensive line who've done a fighting job tonight. Number 76, Ruben Adney, and number 84, David Moraga. And they've done a good job blocking tonight for Hunsucker.
The South played very well defensively tonight against North High. And like we talked about, they had that one chance to score on the turnover, but of course they fumbled the ball back on the misplay between the center and the quarterback, and they probably have not been able to get a lot of chances to score off the turnover this year, and they're in a situation where they have to get something out of it, much like North against Centennial when they played them.
Well, when you're a team that only gives up an average of 210 yards a game, your defense does, except for Centennial and Bakersfield. That's a pretty good job defensively this year.
1st and 10 for the Rebel shotgun. Mayfield, he's hit as he throws it, incomplete. Number 10, the intended receiver, Ben Sita, covering Josh Conley, number 21 for North High. And North is really putting the heat on Mayfield. He was plowed after he unloaded that ball and threw it probably a couple of seconds before he wanted to, looking for that post pattern situation.
Yeah, I do a little bit question some of these play calling here, Mark. Here at 2:42 left in the first half. You're behind 7-0, played a good first half. You don't want to make a turnover here and the North gets some more points before halftime. I think I'd run the ball, get better position before I start throwing the football.
And they have been primarily run-oriented team this year. With 2:42 to play, 2nd and 10 for South. I think they have more people in there to block instead of going out for passes. It's made for rolling to his left. Pass incomplete to Lomax. And look at South High. They have at least 3 or 4 receivers going out, and they're not affording enough protection for the quarterback. He's running for his life back there. Would bring the people back in, at least have 1 or 2 running backs to help him throw the ball if you're going to throw the ball.
Well, I like him.
It's a pass-oriented situation that they have.
I like him better, Mark, when he rolls to his right. I think it's much easier for a right-handed quarterback to roll to your right, not to throw across your body. When he rolls out to his left, it makes the throw a lot tougher. But even when they're open, he's just missing his men tonight. Has not been accurate, but it's really difficult situation throwing in your own 20-yard line with 2:37 left at halftime.
And it's 3rd and 10 for the Rebels, down 7-0. Here's North High, long count. They're coming at him, hit from behind. Barely gets off the pass, incomplete in front of us. I think Sousa, number 40, put on some major heat on Mayfield. And South's going to have to bring some blockers back here to help protect the quarterback.
Well, it's a difficult situation when you're South High because North knows you're going to be throwing the football, and they're just been teeing off on Mayfield, the quarterback, and just hasn't had the time to throw the football.
4th down for South. Late here in the 2nd quarter. Nick Hobson to punch from his own 7-yard line. Line drives it away. Doesn't take much of a bounce. And North will have it in South territory at the 48-yard line. At 2:28 to play in the first half. Closest man to the ball, of course, number 33, the Dustin Krellen for North High.
Mark, I think in the first quarter we saw both teams feeling each other out. Both teams tried to establish the running game. I think North was a little more successful at it. But I think in the second half, I think we're starting to see a little more domination by the North line, offensively and defensively. Don't you think so? They're starting to take charge of the football game a little bit and starting to dominate South.
Tonight's game sponsored by Coca-Cola, Cinnamon Cyclone, Got Shots, and AJ's Tuxedo Junction. Call Time Warner Productions for duplicates at 322-1941. North with the ball in South High territory. Tim Hatton, Neal in motion. Neal has it back to Conley. Across the 45 to the 44. 2 handoffs that time on the reverse to Jason Conley, 21. As the first ball went to Neal and back to Conley on the inside. Of course, you have to have good delayed blocking for that to be effective. Didn't gain that many yards, but 3 yards as North is in South territory at the 44-yard line. Looking for another scoring opportunity with 2 minutes plus to play in the first half.
Mark, it was good blocking by number 76, the left guard Billy Shearer. Laid a fine block on that last play there for North High. North's getting some fine blocking up front tonight.
Middle slot left for North. I formation with Small and Conley behind Hatton. Hatton to throw from midfield. Now he decides to run it. Looks like he just lost the ball momentarily, tried to throw the ball and it slipped from his hands. Are they going to call an incompletion or a fumble out of bounds? Give credit to the defense for confusing him on that play. I guess they're calling it an incompletion. 1:45 to play in the first half. So South defense keeping the heat on Hatton, the North High quarterback. You know, South has been down in their territory defensively, and they've done a great job. Remember, Boyce missed the 44-yard attempt. So they're in the game, only down 7-0. And South looking to have a better effort in the second half offensively. Defensively, they've been fine. Formation remains for North High. Hatton throw from midfield. Now looking deep. It's like Neal in the pass out of bounds. Excellent coverage on the far side. Derek Hembree. Real good coverage on the far side on Neal. The pass was over his right shoulder, out of bounds.
Mark, Derek Hembree's been single covering all night. Did a fine job for South High tonight, no matter who he goes on. Whoever North takes out there, whoever they put out there, he's done a fine job one-on-one coverage and done a fine job.
4th down, Boyce back to punt from his own 43. End over end kick. Away from South, he tries to hit the corner And it goes through the end zone. It'll be 1st and 10 for South at their own 20-yard line. At 1:30 to play in the first half, South only down 7-0 on a homecoming night at Rebel Stadium.
Well, fine job tonight, Mark, by South. We've got to give them credit for a 3-5 team. We haven't seen them play this year, but they posed a very formidable defense there. A lot of good hitters, a lot of good penetration, some good quickness, and some size. And they have had a very good strategy tonight by playing an 8- and 9-man front and really clogging up the middle and really done a good job of keying and stopping Conley tonight. He just has not been able to get too many runs to daylight. So a fine job by South defensively. Now if the offense can do something.
Well, they have to find a way to protect the quarterback, and they have a running back there, Hunsucker, with Mayfield in the shotgun. At 1:30 mark of the first half. And flag is down. In motion was number 81, Andrew Keltry for South High. And it's against the Rebels. So we're talking 1st and 15 for South High. I just think they need to simplify their offense. They're late in the second quarter from Rebel Stadium. Long developing play. Mayfield, like the pass, throws it deep, and nobody's there except North High Stars. Krellin and Conley, the closest players to it, and the pass intended for Ben Sita. And they basically just threw it away. 2nd and 15 for South High School. Into the game for South, Derek Hembry. We talked about his great play at corner for the Rebels tonight. Sure has an excellent number, that's for sure.
Right, Mark. It looked like Sita and Andrew Pelfrey, number 81, were a little mixed up on the route that time and kind of ran together. I think you're right. A simplification of the offense might be something they need right now to just get something going offensively.
The play action. Mayfield under heavy rush, and he will go down inside his 10 at the 7-yard line. 1-2. Well, South had 4 players going out in that pass pattern. You're watching Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Has this ever happened to one of your favorite tapes? How about this? Parts of this tape are damaged forever. Before this happens to your favorite video or home movie, call Time Warner Productions. Time Warner Productions specializes in quality duplications, foreign conversions, and repairs. So before your favorite video cassette becomes your pet's next meal, preserve it by calling Time Warner Productions and get it duplicated. Call 322-1941.
35 seconds to play in the first half. 7-0 North. South backed up inside the 5-yard line after the last run. That's 4th and 20 for the Rebels.
Well, Mark, one thing that's hurt South tonight offensively is that it seems like they're trying to go deep on a lot of plays, and that's given that North defense a real push in there and putting a lot of pressure. I think some 3-yard step, a 3-yard drop, quick short passes would be more effective and really counter that heavy pass rush he's getting from North High.
But when you have 4 receivers going out, you're not going to protect the quarterback that well, and South has really had difficulty protecting Mayfield here in the second quarter as North is just teeing on the quarterback. You have to have more protection for the QB. Apparently hasn't worked that well this year. They've only passed for 500-plus yards coming in. Well, that's through 8 games.
Well, Mark, the run and shoot offense, a lot of times you have 4 or 5 receivers, but the quarterback only makes a 3-step drop, so he gets rid of the ball quickly.
So North looking for a good run back here. Number 33, the deep man, Destin Krellin, standing at the 33-yard line in South High territory. Thompson to punt. North are looking for the block or the run back. And they do partially block it. It's in the end zone. I think recovered by South High back there. If it is, it's a safety. So 2 points awarded to North. Somebody really came in from the right side. And Thompson was able to elude that defensive player. Then the other one was partially blocked. South High caught it in the end zone. That's called a safety. 2 points awarded to North. South will have to punt or kick off to North from their own 20-yard line. 27 seconds to play. It scored 9-0.
Well, Mark, North on that situation had their rush on that time.
They're coming, aren't they?
They came from the right side and blocked the punt and got in there and made the safety.
They're just basically having their way with the South High offensive line tonight.
Well, you know, Mark,
it's another situation where you need more blockers back there to help out the person, whether it's the quarterback or the punter.
Well, one thing,
and that guy that came in from the right side, I don't think he was hit by anybody. You got to have a blocker that hit him, left or right.
Well, one thing I think South can do is they can, like you say, keep more men back there to block. But I think North has just been able to put the pressure on. The defensive line has been able to rush, and they haven't been able to be picked up. And South seems a little bit confused on their coverages, especially on their special teams, as far as their punting goes. And nobody really picked him up. He just flew right in there.
Well, he actually did not block the punt, but he sort of flustered the punter. And then two other guys came in and got a piece of it. So that's better than North recovering in the end zone, though, for a touchdown. So the 2 points, South will be kicking off to North with 27 seconds to play. In that sense, it is actually better than giving up a touchdown. So the punt could have been blocked and recovered by North in the end zone.
Well, Mark, that was
2 points better than 7.
That was Aaron Poole from North who came in and blocked that punt.
Right. Frelon to 40-yard line. Maybe 42. So 21 seconds to play. In the first half, North with a 9-0 lead over South High. With the Stars are just air it out here or just plowed on the ground for the final play of the first half.
Well, going back to that block punt, what I really like about that, Aaron Poole was not lined up at the line of scrimmage. He was lined up about 4 yards deep, and nobody really picked him up. They thought he was going to go back. Instead, he came forward and just rushed, kind of like a delayed blitz. Nobody picked him up, and he was able to block the punt. It was too long in getting the kick off by the punter for South.
North with 3 receivers in front of us, along the right hash mark for Hatton. He has nice time to throw. Over the middle is complete to Neal at a 45-yard line. 1st and 10 for North as the clock is running down now, stopped momentarily at the 15-second mark. Looks like we have a South High player down at the 45.
Mark, tonight, that's been a very effective play. It seems like Hatton and Neal, they seem to have the best timing of all the North receivers. It seems like when he runs that post pattern over the middle, it seems like they really have good connection there. So Neal and Hatton really work well together, and that's been open all night as long as Hatton has time to throw.
Well, let's face it, Hatton has a lot more time to throw than Mayfield. We saw Hatton against Centennial. He was running for his life throughout the game, and he made some ill-advised passes. Pressure makes a quarterback do a lot of things he wouldn't like to do. And when a quarterback can sit back there and look left and right and has time to fire the ball, usually positive things happen for him offensively.
Well, I also think he has a little bit of an advantage too, because being 6'1", he sees the secondary a little bit better. And I think when you're 5'9", like Mayfield, you tend to struggle a little bit. When you get behind the center there, unless you roll out, he's having a little bit of difficult time seeing some of his receivers. Some of those tall North defensive linemen hesitating a little bit. Thereby, they're coming in with the pressure and they're sacking him or making him throw the ball before he wants to. I think he'd be much more effective, Mayfield, rolling out to his right or left and throwing some short passes.
Yeah, I agree with the short-looking passes to the tight end to get something going. 15 seconds to play in the first half, and we haven't picked up the number of the South High player down at the 45-yard line. It's number 88, Chad Applin, who's a wide receiver, 5'10", 170 for South High. So both teams 3 and 5 coming into the game tonight, and both needing a victory as we head into the last 2 weeks of the season, regular season.
Well, Mark, it should be an exciting time for the playoffs. We've got a number of teams still in the hunt, and of course we've got 2 teams that are dominant. One team in the Southwest Assembly League, which would be Centennial, and the other one in the Southeast Assembly League, which would be BHS. So those 2 teams are in, and then of course you've got Foothill in good shape. Other than that, I think it's still up for grabs. Stockdale, if they can win the rest of their games, they're going to be making the playoffs in the Southwest Assembly League. So there's some good teams that they're going to be in the playoffs this year in Kern County.
And Stockdale will be playing Centennial next week at Golden Hawk Stadium. Great rivalry. Seems like they play for first place or for a playoff spot every year in the Southwest Assembly League in the short time that both have been in the league, at least the second year. But it's been a rivalry from the very start. Hatton to throw, the pass high, complete to Connolly on the far side inside the 40 to about the 37-yard line. Out of bounds, 7 seconds on the clock. North has thrown the ball much more than they normally do tonight.
Well, I think with very few seconds on the clock, I've thrown the only way to get the ball down the field.
I'd say air it out to the end zone.
I think you have to with 7 seconds because you don't have any time to set up for a field goal, even if you do complete the pass. Now you need kind of like an alley-oop type pass into the end zone. Hopefully your receiver can make a play.
Of course, quarterbacks hate that, especially when it's intercepted. Having the short pass, complete to Conley on the far side, close to the 30-yard line, 1st and 10 for North with 3 seconds on the clock. Maybe they're thinking about a Bobby Boyce 50-yarder. Maybe this time they'll throw it towards the end zone. Hadden having a fine game as far as throwing. Yes, Boyce is coming in for the field goal attempt. Remember, he missed a 44-yarder. This would be a 49-yarder. He sets up at the 39-yard line. Boyce for the 49-yard field goal attempt. High snap. Boyce goes back to retrieve it. Now he is thrown down inside midfield as the first half comes to a conclusion. Well, didn't have a chance at a kick. After 2 quarters, it is North High 9, South High nothing. And you're watching the Prep Football Game of the Week right here on Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
March down to Got Shocks for terrific Veterans Day sales savings.
Check out our great selection of Mrs. and Petite's wool coats, just $99.99.
Selected men's velour shirts now 30% off.
Royal Velvet Classic bath towels, only $6.99.
And for your holiday feasting, $49.99 buys your choice of a non-stick roaster or 2-piece carving set.
Plus, save an additional 10 to 20% with bonus coupons.
So get the troops together and double time it to the Veterans Day sale, only at Got Shocks.
Where did the Power Flow come from?
The new Power Flow sports bottle. It's faster, so you can get back into the game where you belong. The new Power Flow from Powerade. Power the working muscles when you need it. I am not done.
Get back into the game with Powerade. This game is brought to you by Powerade and your Coca-Cola bottler in Bakersfield. Powerade, you are not done.
It was a day like any other. Mom was baking her famous cinnamon rolls when suddenly the skies grew dark and the winds began to blow. There was no mistake, a cyclone was coming. We ran for cover just in time. And when we returned turned, the most incredible thing had happened.
Oh, my.
With a taste that'd make your taste buds spin, people came from miles around for just one bite. And you will too, at Cinnamon Cyclone.
Cinnamon Cyclones is now open at 18th and Chester, so stop by. We'll make your taste buds spin.
Excuse me, is that tuxedo from AJ's?
Let AJ's get you noticed. A Bakersfield tradition for over 25 years, specializing in Pierre Cardin, Christian Dior, Oscar de la Renta, and Calvin Klein. AJ's Tuxedo Junction, with 3 great locations to serve you.
We begin the third quarter of play from Rebel Stadium on the campus of South High, with North leading South by the score of 9-0. A good defensive effort for South in the first half, Dennis, but they had some problems offensively against a North defense that penetrated very well in the backfield and really put a lot of heat on Mayfield, the quarterback for South High.
Yes, on Mayfield, a big struggle center, but the pressure was on, and he got into situations, Mark, where he had second and third and long yardage to make up, and therefore North was able to penetrate and put pressure on Mayfield and made a few mistakes, but their defense played well, trailing 9-0 here starting the third quarter, so it's anybody's game. South can just get a good start here in the second half, maybe get the running game going a little bit, and get some confidence and put a score on the board to get back in this game.
Except when South had the ball to North 30 after that fumble, they've been inside their 30 most of the ball game. A pitch, the loss of 5 or 7 yards for South High, as North strung it out very well. North Stars with 3 or 4 defenders on the play as we begin a third quarter play from South High School on homecoming night.
Mark, I think one thing South can do tonight here in the third quarter is really try to take the ball straight up the middle, because North has shown good team speed to the outside, and South hasn't had any success running wide, so maybe it might be a good idea to maybe run straight north and south and see if we can pick up some yards that way.
Joey Mayfield, the quarterback for South. Hops into the other side to the 10-yard line, strung out by North, and he goes down. South running wide on 2 consecutive plays and losing yardage. And most teams would think you could run effectively against North to the outside. But they have improved their speed this year, really have better athletes. And they lose some big yardage. $10:50 to play in the third quarter. South back inside their 10-yard line again. Remember when North partially blocked that punt and South recovered it in the end zone. So North had 9 points in the first half off of safety. Unsucker the ball carrier, barely gets across the 5 to about the 6. As North dominated that particular series by South High, and the Rebels will be punting from their end zone once again, like they did late in the second quarter.
Well, Mark, again, they started out with 2 plays running wide, didn't pick up any yards, and then it puts you in 3rd and long. And again, South has to stay out of those 3rd and long situations, because it puts a lot of pressure on their passing game. North knows what you're going to do, and they put tremendous pressure on the quarterback when he wants to throw on 3rd and long, thereby making the play a lot less successful. In that situation, they tried to run up the middle, but at 3rd and long, North smelled it out.
You certainly don't want to be in a 3rd and 20 situation inside your 10-yard line.
Well, with the team struggling on offense and trying to get some confidence, you don't even want to be 3rd and 12. And because it's obvious passing play, you tried to fool them with a run, and it just didn't work. North was on the play defensively.
Unsucker number 43 injured just slightly for South. As Thompson will be punting midway through the end zone. North should have excellent field position after the punt. If he does indeed get it away. North not really coming that hard this time. The ball off to the right. Mr. Crellin, the 30-yard line. That's a nice move. Stays on his feet, 25-20. Inside the 20, maybe to the 15, 14-yard line. A nice piece of running by number 33, Dustin Crellin for North. Didn't look like he had too much in front of him. The flags are down on the field. Made some good cutbacks, number 33. As we begin the third quarter tonight.
Mark, we've seen Dustin Crellin. This is the 3rd game we've seen him. He does have a lot of breakaway speed to the outside. And, in the special teams there, he made a nice run down the left sidelines. But he has shown some promise as a runner here for North High. And I think he's one player that North can utilize down the rest of the season here is maybe a compliment Conley, because Crelin does show some excellent speed and some quickness.
Both teams coming to the game with records of 3-5 and a very important Southwest Assembly League battle. Next week, Stockdale is at Centennial in a game that should have definitely playoff aspirations, probably for the Southwest Assembly League Championship. South, once again this season, struggling in non-conference and doing very well in league.
Well, Centennial is a fine team, and like you say, Mark, their defense has just been awesome this year. They just do not give up any yards, especially inside the red zone. They have been very, very difficult. And Bakersfield found that out when they played them. They got down there a number of times, and inside the red zone, they just could not put the ball in. Centennial really stiffened, but they have a good-sized defensive line. The linebacker is very active, and excellent cornerbacks who can really cover one-on-one. And they did a great job on Bakersfield, as they do against everybody. But a lot of the teams really this year in Kern County have been struggling somewhat on offense, and except for the Bakersfield High game, they haven't really had a lot of competition in their league. But in non-league play, they did have some competition, like you say, with Redwood, who threw the ball effectively. So the way if you're going to move against Centennial, you've got to throw the ball a little bit, mix up the run and pass.
In that game against BHS, the Drillers had the ball for 4 plays at the Centennial 12-yard line and failed to score to win that ball game, as Osborne was sacked on the final play of the game. That was the most thrilling game I believe we've done in 2 years on Time Warner Cable. 9:49 to play in the third quarter. We've been a delay for quite a long time. 2 scores. Sponsors for tonight's game on Time Warner Cable: Coca-Cola, Cinnamon Cyclone, Gottschalk's, and AJ's Tuxedo Junction. If you want a duplicate of tonight's game, contact Time Warner Productions at 322-1941, 322-1941. 4th and 20 for the Rebels. North of the ball inside South High territory. Conley does a cutback, slips. He gets inside of 15 to about the 10-yard line. North, primarily a ground-oriented team, threw the ball effectively in the first half, because South High was jamming it up over the middle with 7 or 8 defensive players. And North can throw the ball effectively when Hatton has time to throw, which was the case in the first 2 quarters. But of course, it was only 9-0.
Well, I think here it's 2nd and 9. They're going to stick to the running game here. They have the situation here to run the ball in, and they're deep inside South territory, so they're going to try to run the football mark behind the big offensive line.
Turning wide to the right. It's a draw to Conley. Tries to scoot to the outside, only gets to about the 12 or 13-yard line. Duff making the tackle for South High.
Up 3rd and 9.
Regular season finales next week. One of them Stockdale at Centennial, which should decide the championship of the Southwest Assembly League in the playoff situations. North flood to the right side with a couple of receivers, Neal and number 1 Larry Birch. For Haddon, 3rd and 9. Looking for the end zone pass. Incomplete. Underthrew it to number 27, Bobby Turney. And 4th down for North High. Of course, Bobby Boyce missed a 44-yarder. Then late in the first half, he never got a chance to kick one.
Well, that was a 3-step drop. He had time to throw Hatton, just underthrew his receiver a little bit, and that put him in a situation where it's 4th and 9. Again, on that drive, North had an excellent opportunity to put the ball in the end zone, and they just didn't execute. So now they're in a situation where they're going to go for a field goal to make the score in a 13-0, 12-0, 12-0 if they can make this. They're not going for a field goal.
4th and 9, and North is going for the touchdown for the first down in the situation. Small and Conley behind Haddon. Play action, throws into the end zone for Conley. It's a diving try incomplete. Coverage over there by number 21 for South High, Greg Linder. Pass just outside the Hands of Conley, number 21, try to make the diving catch. 1st and 10 for South High. 8:18 to play in the 3rd quarter.
That was not a bad call. I think the reason why they didn't go for 3 after all was that would have only left it 12-0. If it had been 13-0, they might have gone for the 3, but at 12-0, I don't think it really mattered a lot on the score, so they decided to go for it. Just overthrew Conley a little bit on the right, down the right flat.
Nicholson wide to the left for South High. 1st and 10 for the Rebs. And we have a flag. Mayfield taking the ball behind the center this time. Remember, he suffered from a lack of protection in the 2nd quarter against North High. South has spent a lot of time inside their own 20-yard line in this ball game. And the penalty is against South High.
The market makes it real difficult when you start your drives deep in your own territory, especially without a real potent passing game. South had just not had good field position. It's been very difficult to get anything going because North just tees off defensively, especially when you're deep in their own territory.
Mayfield with a handoff. Number 40, Burrell, and he's hit in the backfield. They try to run a cross play, and North was there to stop it. They've had penetration. They've stuffed the run very good up the middle.
And more Chris Woods and number 7 for Peter Cortez for North defensively have really been stacking up the middle of that interior line on this series here and done a good job for North High, really plugging up their running game and forcing North in 2nd and 3rd long situations.
Definitely 2nd and long, 7:40 to play in the 3rd. Mayfield with the run. In full of North High defense as they stop him for a loss. Will South back up deep in our hole once again. Sucker and number 81, Andrew Pelfrey, coming to the game for South High.
Well, Mark North just in his 3rd quarter really dominated the interior line of scrimmage, playing great defensively, really penetrating well, and made a few adjustments at halftime. Looks like they've really made a commitment here to stop the running game here in the 3rd quarter.
3rd and 17 for South. Shotgun formation for Mayfield. Low snap, rolls to his right, passes complete, nice hit. Inside the 10-yard line for North, that was Neal. And it's 4th down for South High. They'll be punting from their end zone once again. 83 making the stop for North High.
Well, again, that was a tough situation, being 3rd and 17, trying to throw a 5- or 6-yard pass to the flat. I think in that situation, they needed to try to go a little bit deeper, but again, heavy pressure on the quarterback, and so he just threw the ball out to the flat. Really didn't pick up anything, except a couple of yards, so now it's 4th down.
And Hobson standing halfway through his end zone to punt. North looks like they're looking to block it. Everybody on the line of scrimmage except for the punt returner. Hobson backs up. Long count. Gets it away. DeCrellin takes it at the 40. 35. Now going to his left. Stays on his feet. 30 and knocked out of bounds. So North will have excellent field position at the South High 30-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Stars as they lead at 9-0. 5:58 to play in the 3rd quarter.
Excellent coverage that time on the South kicking team. They got down there and made a nice stop and actually kept him from making a big gain on the play. He just made about 11-yard gain on the play, but it looked like he had a lot of room to run, but it came up well and forced him to the outside and out of bounds. So South defensively tonight, Mark, has really played well. They've been consistent all night. There just hasn't been a lot of room to run for Conley tonight.
Well, North has definitely cut the field in half tonight, but they only have a 9-0 lead as they start this drive. The South 30. Hatton, the keeper, pitch back to Conley. It's a nice cut at the 25 to the 24-yard line. Burrell the tackle for South. We call it 2nd and a long 5 for North High.
Good option.
Jason Conley, number 21.
Good option run by Hatton. He felt penetration. He tossed the ball back to Conley, but again, number 4 Burrell came up and made a nice tackle. That was good defense by South. They reacted well to that, but I would keep the ball on the ground. I think they can move the football on the South. I think South's going to get a little tired. You just keep pounding the ball at them.
Bobby Turney wide to the right for North High formation. For North. Inside handoff, good job by the Rebel defense. And Todd Seiler, the ball carrier. Gets close to the 25-yard line. Rivera on the tackle for South. At a 5-minute mark in the third quarter, 9-0 North. Although they have dominated the line of scrimmage, they only have a 9-0 lead. And they've had a lot less of the field to work with in South High.
Mark Rivera is a 5'11", 190-pounder, and a very solid defensive interior lineman in there for South High. He's done a fine job in there.
Andre Lomax guarding Larry Birch in front of us on near side. Mill in the slot for North. Patton calling signals for the Stars. Looking to throw. Good protection. Fires it out. Completes. Out of bounds goes Larry Birch. Just at the 1-yard line, maybe inside the 1. First and goal for North High.
Mark, on that situation, play action. The defensive left corner bid on the play. Birch got behind him by about 5 yards. Caught the ball and was knocked out of bounds at the half-yard line. Again, the play-action passes really worked well for North tonight, and Hatton has done a good job of hitting his receivers when they're open. And again, South High single covering, and with no help from the free safety that time, the cornerback got beat on the play.
Fine throw by Hatton. Ball carrier is small. I think he loses a yard. Nice hit by South High. Rivera making a great tackle, number 35 for South. One-on-one job. And second and goal from the 2 for North High. 4 minutes to play in the third quarter as the Stars try to add to their advantage. Mill wide to the right. The ball in the middle of the field. Hatton gives it to Collins straight up the middle. Maybe back to the original line of scrimmage. And it'll be third and goal for North.
Well, Mark, they're in 2-down situation here for North, inside the 1-yard line. And it's a situation where if they don't make it here, you've got to go for it on 4th down. Leading 9-0. I don't think 3 points would do you much good here. So they're going to try to punch this ball in. But you got to give South credit. That interior line's been very stingy tonight.
And of course, the field goals have not been automatic for North this evening. 3:14 to play in the third. Hatton. Pitch back to Conley. Puts his head down. Touchdown, North High.
Mark, that was a great play. Faked the ball up the middle. A belly play, took it out, tossed it to Conley around the left end, and just barreled in for the score. Really had South fooling that. They all kind of converged in the center of the line there, and they went for the fake. And then he was able to pitch the ball out to Conley to the left side and was able to get in for the score.
Well, of course, he only had to break the plane. PAT by Boyce. Definitely looks good it is, as North increases that lead to 16-0 over South High. Flag is down. 3:06 to play in the third quarter.
Well, Mark, South has been stingy on defense tonight. Even on that last play, Conley barely got in there. They have just really played well defensively tonight. Very aggressive, very tough defense.
They've had their backs to the wall defensively all night. That was only a 30-yard drive for North. They started a lot of drives in South High territory.
This whole game has been played on one side of the football field, and North has had the advantage in field position. And if you want to look for a key to a game, that's about as important of a key as you can have, field position, and they've had it. Without being able, South not able to move the ball on offense, they've had to punt the ball deep in their own territory, and North had great field position really the whole game.
And you have to take advantage of that field position too, just like you have to take advantage of turnovers.
And North has taken advantage enough to lead 16-0.
Boyce will be kicking off for North High. Right from the kicker against South on that PAT attempt, and that will give North 15 more yards. And Boyce will be kicking off from the South High 45-yard line.
Mark, if you're Boyce here, instead of kicking the ball in the end zone, get the ball in the 20, I'd try to squib kick here, see if they can back South up deep in their territory instead of just kicking the ball in the end zone.
Line driving one of those. Try to get the ball to ricochet off the South High player. Let's see what Boyce does in the situation. The left-footed kicker kicks it all away. Thrown over the end zone, so it'll be 1st and 10 for South. at their own 20-yard line.
Mark, that didn't make any sense. I mean, in that situation, kicking the ball in the end zone, you get the ball to 20. I would have tried to squib that ball because they got a 15-yard penalty and try to back South deep inside their own territory. But again, he just blew the ball in the end zone. So South, a little better field position out the 20-yard line.
I think he was just trying to see how far he could kick it.
He did, too. Out of the end zone.
Beltry wide to the left for South High. Little slot. Hunsucker the ball carrier across the 20 to about the 22, 23-yard line. Under 3 minutes to play in the third quarter. South nothing, North High 16. And North has had a fantastic game defensively this season against South. South has played very well defensively. But unfortunately, their backs have been to the wall every time they've been out there on defense. And I'm sure the defense is getting tired of late because their offense has not been moving the ball effectively. In most of the game, their offense has been inside their 30 to 20-yard line. Second and 7. The draw play to Hunsucker. To the 30, 35 has the first down. Stays on his feet. And to the 45, 47. What an effort by Hunsucker. We'll give midfield. And the longest run of the night for South High. As the Rebels try to get something going here in the latter stages of the third quarter. 28-yard run by Matt Hunsucker. Most of it on extra effort.
Excuse me, Mark, he just wouldn't go down. That was a great second effort by Hunsucker. Actually, a great third effort. He just kept his feet churning and was able to pick up a 28-yard gain. So, first down for the Rebels. First good field position here in the second half.
Now we're hearing the Rebel yell. There's a draw play to Hunsucker again. Just gets back to the line of scrimmage. They actually tried that play about 3 consecutive plays. Didn't work this time.
Well, Mark, it looks like South here in the second half has gone back to being committed to the running game with Hunsucker. That's pretty much what they've done. I guess in the first half they threw the ball a little bit. Were not successful. They started to go back to the running game here. And I think it's a good idea. I mean, you're not going to score a lot of points maybe with it, but you just want to establish some confidence and get the guys playing all in one. You know, you want them focusing on doing one thing and doing one thing well. Simplify it, just run the football.
Well, I talked about simplifying the offense in the second quarter. Here's Mayfield in a shotgun. Standing at his own 45, 120 playing the third. Sprint out right, fires it over the middle, over the head of Burrell, who is covered by number 8, Paul Guerrero for North High.
Mark, wouldn't you agree that Mayfield seems to be much more comfortable when he rolls out? You know, as a 5'9" pocket passer, he seems to have a difficult time seeing over the defensive and offensive line. I think he's much more effective when he rolls out to his left and right, so he can take advantage of his speed if nobody's open.
And when he tries to set up in the pocket with his size, he tends to overthrow his passes over the middle.
To get the ball over the defensive line.
Defensive lineman, yes. At 3rd and 10. Mayfield going to hit from the outside. And he goes down at the 46-yard line. Yes. Aaron Mott with a tackle for North came from his blind side, his backside, and threw him down. And 4th down and long for South High.
Well, Mark, in that situation, North High knew they were going to throw and came with 6 men. And the 6th man, Aaron Mott, there was no blocker to pick him up, and he made the tackle on the quarterback.
Jay Hobson apparently to punt from his own 35, 36-yard line on 4th and 15 for South. Krellin deep for North High. Now he moves back to his 34. Gets it off, kicks it straight up in the air, end over end. And it takes a North High bounce. South downs it at the 40 or 41-yard line.
South High downs the ball about 41-yard line.
That's not even a 10-yard punt. That's about an 8 or 9-yard punt right there.
Yeah, they made about 9 yards on the play, net gain of 9. So in that situation, it didn't work out too well for South. I'm sure they wanted to pin North deep back in their own territory, but it didn't work out that way.
20 seconds to play in the third quarter. North with the ball, 1st and 10 at their own 41-yard line. They did 16-0 over South High tonight from Rebel Field. Barry Birch wide to the right. Got a loop pass which set up North's last touchdown. Hatton calling signals. The play action. Nice protection pass is incomplete. Maybe knocked away by number 42 for South High. Garrett Duff intended for Josh Conley, number 21.
Mark Conley would have caught that down the right flat, would have been to the races. He looked like he was open. Looked like he just took his eye off the ball and dropped it. I'm not
The ball
sure
might have
it's
been
tipped or
tipped
not.
away at the last moment. Really couldn't tell.
Another nice pass by Hatton. He had time to throw and laid it up perfectly and led him perfectly on that play, Conley, but just couldn't come up with the catch.
Yeah, you know, receivers have to make you look good as a quarterback. They have to make those outstanding catches from time to time. 2nd and 10. There's a pitch back to Small. Nice cut back to the 45, midfield 50. And close to the first down for North High goes number 34.
Well, Mark, I like the way Small runs. Small is a lot like Conley. They're both kind of short. Small has a little more power, but they're both
5'10", 210.
Right, and a little more power, but they both run very similar. Like to go to the outside, have quick feet, both have good balance. And I think when the defense gets a little bit tired, they bring Small in to give Conley a little bit of a breather, and he can be a very effective runner, Small for him.
After 3 quarters from Rebel Field, it's North High 16, South High nothing on Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Excuse me, is that tuxedo from AJ's?
Let AJ's get you noticed. A Bakersfield tradition for over 25 years, specializing in Pierre Cardin, Christian Dior, Oscar de la Renta, and Calvin Klein. AJ's Tuxedo Junction, with 3 great locations to serve you.
March down to Gottschalk's for terrific Veterans Day sale savings.
Check out our great selection of Mrs. and Petite's wool coats, just $99.99.
Selected men's velour shirts now 30% off.
Royal Velvet Classic bath towels, only $6.99.
And for your holiday feasting, $49.99 buys your choice of a non-stick roaster or 2-piece carving set.
Plus, save an additional 10 to 20% with bonus coupons.
So get the troops together and double time it to the Veterans Day sale, only at Gottschalk's.
We begin the 4th quarter from South High School with the Rebels down 16-0 to North. Small, the ball carrier, bowls his way for the first down. Inside midfield to about the 47-yard line.
Well, Mark Small doesn't get too many carries, but he does a fine job in there a lot of times for a lead blocker for Conley. And a lot of times they use him in the second half when defense gets a little bit tired because he tends to have a little more power than Conley because he weighs a little more. Now's a good time to use him because they want ball control and use some of this clock. They have a commanding 16-0 lead.
And North is in their perfect position. Like you said, they want to use the clock, exhibit that ball control, and stick to that bruising football.
Well, this is O'Brien's game, being ahead 16-0. He likes to run it.
Oh, yes, definitely. Adam looking over the defense. Conley lining up there with Small in the backfield. Long count for Hatton. Try to draw South offside, and I think he was successful. Even though I'm kind of one of the North really knew what plays they were running at the time. I don't think it was so much of a question of the quarterback calling South offsides, but it did work. 5 yards against the Rebels. And what a position for North to be in, 1st and 5.
I wonder what they're going to do right now.
Run the football.
Kern County Mountain Football.
Or the 40-yard line, South Territory. And this is the kind of situation North likes to be in.
You changed this cadence there, Mark, and then kind of drew South off there a little anxious defensively.
Well, I guess you have to be. You're down by 16 in the 4th quarter. Single coverage on the right side. Seiler to about the 35-yard line. Burrell making the tackle for South High.
Seiler, another effective player for North High. You know, Mark, one thing that North has not done too much tonight until just recently is they usually pretty much just run Conley, and I think they ought to balance that offense up with Seiler and Small because it gives the defense less people to key on because they have a bevy of good runners out there, not just Conley.
Seiler 6 feet 215 for the North High Stars. Almost ran back a kickoff against Centennial for a touchdown to open up that game. He was caught at the 10 or 11-yard line. North did score. 10-17 to play in the 4th. North on the move again. There's Conley. Stays on his feet across the 30 to about the 29. And North keeping that ball on the ground and gaining real estate against South. It's a 1st and 10 for North High.
Mark, one effective blocker in that last one, number 7, Chris Woods, senior tackle. 6'2", and
330. He's been effective all night long, number 71. Right tackle. Adam Cohen signals. There's Conley. Nice blocking to the right side. About the 25-24. Now they push him back.
Well, Mark, as you know, as the defense gets tired, those players that are bigger are more effective because the defense slows up a little bit, and they're able to push and lean on the defensive lineman and push him back. Early in the game, a lot of times size doesn't mean as much, but as the game goes on, as the defense slows down, gets a little bit tired, the big offensive line can start pushing forward. And right now, North's getting a good push on the offensive line and is kind of moving South out of there right now.
Also give credit to number 64, Danny Thomas for North, 5'11", 230. Chris Cunningham, number 65, 6'3", 270. And Billy Schur, number 76, he's 5'11", 195. Second down for North. There's Conley up the middle. Like he had a chance to gain some more yardage. It'd be 3rd and short as he's inside the 25 and close to the 20-yard line. Nice quick acceleration by Jason Conley, number 21.
Well, right now, Mark, on this drive, North is being much more balanced. You're getting Small to run a little bit. You're getting Conley to run a little bit, and also they can blend in a pass a little bit there, or they can run Seiler. So they're getting more guys involved in this drive with the offense, and it's making them more effective.
Definitely a diversified drive for North High. Verse wide to the left. And we have a 3rd and 5 situation for the Stars. 33 to ball carry, stopped momentarily, gets around to the outside to the 20. And now we have a late flag. It's like a face masking penalty. Number 33, the ball carrier, Dustin Krellin. He has been using the backfield too often tonight. He runs back punts for North High. Kind of looked like that play was stopped at the line of scrimmage, then he busted it to the outside.
Well, yes, and I really like North's attack on this series, Mark. They've used Krellin, they've used Small, and they've used Conley and Seiler, 4 running backs, and it's really tired out the South defense, getting fresh backs in there, and it's really made a difference on this drive. Right now, O'Brien is just smiling over there. He loves this kind of attack.
Oh, yeah.
Pound the ball, don't put the ball in the air, and use the clock. And look at how much time's left. They used almost the whole 4th quarter here.
North High football tonight, 8-10 to play in the 4th quarter. They need to win. They like to go to 4 and 5, of course. So would Steve Falk of South High, as both teams at 3 and 5 coming in. 3rd and 5 for North High. Bootleg, had it rolling to his right. The pass is incomplete, intended for Small at the 10-yard line. Then weave under it properly and dropped it.
Well, Mark, that was a rollout for sprint to the right, and Small was open on the play.
Small.
And he really had a step on Hunsaker and really should have caught the ball. It's just a drop pass by the receiver.
Yeah, nice play by the North High offense. As Boyce will try another field goal tonight. From the 30, it's a 40-yarder for Bobby Boyce. Line drives this one, and definitely no good off to the right and low. Well, he has the leg. He's missed 2 tonight, and the other one was a poor snap by the center, and he didn't have a chance in that one. Well, the score remains the same at 16-0 with 7:54 to play in a ball game here at Rebel Field.
Well, Mark, we'll see what South High can do this time. They've got the ball back, 7:54 left in the game. Hopefully they can put an attack together, get something on the scoreboard to feel a little better about themselves and maybe gain some momentum and some confidence for next week.
Well, I talk about putting an attack together. That sounds good. As we're heading towards midpoint of the 4th quarter. Shotgun formation, Mayfield low snap. Now going to his right on the heavy rush. Fires it to Hobson, just incomplete at midfield. That coverage by Jason Conley, number 21. And back there, number 20 for North High, Jason Holland.
Mark, it was well executed. Like we say, roll out to right, sprint to the right. He had a little bit more time to throw. Throws good on the run, especially rolling to his right. Just a little bit overthrowing Hobson, the receiver. A little small Hobson. Is not able to reach for that ball, but it was a nice play there.
He's 5'5", 145. Not a lot of reach there, that's for sure. No 2nd and 10 for South High. And they need to pick up some first downs on this drive, move the ball downfield, and keep it away from the North. They're just eating up that clock in the second half. The out pattern, high and overthrown to number 10, Ben Sita. And it's 3rd and 10.
Mark, we talked about him being a short quarterback, 5'9". He tends to throw the ball high to get over the defensive lineman. A lot of times the ball sails, so he's going to have to roll out more because in the pocket he's having a hard time throwing the ball because he throws down and he's got to throw the ball up and lofted, and it just seems to carry on him.
A 3rd and 10 situation for South. 7:44 to play in the game. And they're at their own, just inside their own 20-yard line. And the North defense feasting on every play that South throws at them. It's going to really come to the quarterback here on 3rd down. He's in the shotgun. Mayfield sprint out right. Hit from behind as he throws it incomplete. Intended for Cedar. Coverage by number 33, Dustin Crone of North. Holding penalty against South High. Well, the North defense coming up on the backside of the weak side on quarterback Mayfield.
Yeah, there was heavy pressure on the right side of the North defensive line.
Heavy pressure.
Cita was there, Mark, down the right flat, but again, he got bumped just a little bit down the field, but it was called no harm, no foul, I guess, but slowed him up a little bit and was just not able to run after the ball and catch it. He just got overthrew him a little bit. Timing was messed up by the nice play by the defensive corner for North High. He just kind of bumped him slightly there.
And once again, he had to unload that pass a little bit early and felt the heat from the backside, the weak side. Will Hobson punts from inside his 10-yard line. As he is one of his better ones tonight. Punts it away from Crellin. Crellin picks it up on the run and goes out of bounds at the North 41-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Stars, who want to eat up more of that clock as they lead at 16-0 over South High here in the 4th quarter.
Well, Mark, I think if you look at this football game, if you want to analyze it up until here in the 4th quarter, it's been the domination by the interior line of North, offensive and defensively, especially the North's defensive line against the South offensive line. They have put tremendous pressure on Mayfield, the quarterback, and they've really done a good job stopping Huntslinger, and they've really mixed up their defensive coverage as well and disguised them well. And South has had a very difficult time throwing the football into double coverage, and he's been high and missing a lot of passes. So it's been a fine defensive effort by North High.
Domination by the North High Stars over the South High Rebels. Pitch back, Jason Conley. Takes inside, stays on his feet. 45 midfield 15, close to the 1st down marker. An excellent piece of running by number 21, Mr. Conley. And, North keeping it on the move, on the run, as you mentioned. They utilized at least 4 running backs in their last drive.
Right, number 42, Garrett Duff, a linebacker, 5'9", 160, made the tackle that time, but not until he picked up about 9 yards on the play, Conley.
Garrett Duff for the tackle.
I like that name, Garrett Duff. Sounds like a football player's name, doesn't it?
Or an actor.
Okay.
2nd and 1 for North. 6:50 to play in the game. Easy name to remember. Hadn't to throw it, has a man out there and just overthrown to Neal. Out in that pattern. Number 35 on the coverage for South High, Marcos Rivera. One thing about North, they've been stretching out the South defense tonight, and they're taking chances. Flag on the far side. And it's against the Rebels.
There's some frustration now with South High defense, Mark. You know, it's really difficult for a defense to come out there and play hard and play well. And when the offense doesn't put any points on the board, you know, there's a certain demoralizing factor there. I mean, you know you want to play hard, but when you look at the scoreboard down 16-0, it's kind of difficult to keep the intensity up for full quarters. And that's what's happening tonight.
Well, Southland's situation has to come up with a pickoff or force a fumble and try to secure some points with their defense. They have to do in the situation. And have with a long count, drawing South offside. That is indeed true. That's the second time he's accomplished that here in the second half. And it's successful 2 out of 2 times. As you mentioned, South High having to be aggressive defensively and trying to beat the count, and then twice they're offside.
Well, I think the only disappointment for North High tonight, Mark, has really been their special teams. Their punting's been a little bit erratic tonight. Some bad snaps to the punter, a few almost blocked, and then their voice on the field goals has not been very successful. Other than that, they played a very solid football game tonight.
You had a bad snap on a punt and a bad snap on a field goal try, and that's probably just thrown off the timing of his voice on some of his kicks. Nevertheless, that's about it. Had him to pitch out. Crellin, across 30, about the 25-yard line. And it'll be very close to having the first down. It's under 6:30 to play in a ball game.
Well, I think at this point, I don't think O'Brien cares whether they pick up 5 yards on first down or 2 yards on first down, as long as they make first downs and keep it going.
You know, he'd like to keep it on the ground and gain 3 yards at a time to eat up most of the clock.
I think he would.
Instead of score quickly.
But this year, though, you got to give him credit. He's let Haddon throw a little bit more this year than we thought he would.
Well, he has the talent back there, QB, to throw the ball. Draw play to Krellen inside the 25 to about the 24. South hanging in there defensively. Left number 42 and Leonard in there for South High. About 5:45 to play in the game. And North has definitely dominated the second half as far as ball possession time.
Well, Mark, we saw that domination start really midway in the second quarter. When the first quarter, I think both teams were filling each other out. I think North was having a little bit of tough time running the football. They started throwing in the second quarter, opened up some of the defensive holes to penetrate South as far as passing. And in the second half, it's been all North on the line.
Pitch back to Small inside the 25. They try to drag him down. Forward progress would probably go to the 21 before they push him back. And the clock continues to run in favor of North High. Third down about 7 for the Stars. We talked about the fact that North High in their last 2 drives have utilized a lot of their running backs as they have shown diversity.
Well, he's got a lot of fine running backs, and I'm almost surprised that they run Conley all the time in the first half. I mean, I think if you want to keep him fresher, utilize some of those other backs because they all can run the football. They all have some power and they all have some speed.
Krellen, pitchback goes over his head, and who falls on it? South High has it. At their own 37-yard line, Krellen went to his right, and a pitch out went over his head to the left. And somewhat of a mix-up in the backfield for North, and South has it at their own 37. With 4:33 to play in a ball game and down 16-0 to the North High Stars.
Mark, you have to give credit to South tonight defensively. They have played hard the whole game.
Yeah.
They have not given up. They have not thrown in the towel. They could have on that last drive there, but they hung tough and made a play.
Yeah, they really have hung tough throughout this ball game. In dire circumstances. The Rebels want to get on the board here. They start this drive in good position at their own 37-yard line. Receivers to each side from Mayfield. The pitch back, and North strings it out very well. Staying on his feet is Peltry. Gets across the 30 to about the 32, but North definitely smelled out that play. It wasn't going anywhere except down. The loss on the play of 4 yards. Call it 2nd and 14.
Well, Mark, Shane McLaughlin, the senior defensive end for North High, turned the play in, and that just kind of messed up the timing for the offense. But that didn't fool anybody. North is staying home tonight. Everybody's playing their roles well, and defensively they're just attacking the South offense.
Well, the wide plays by South have not worked against North tonight. Mainly, they have worked for loss of yardage. North has strung it out well. They've contained. Put a pressure on Mayfield, throws under duress. It is picked off the 45-yard line by Neal and falls forward at the 40. That will be about the last gasp for South tonight. Scott Neal picks it off near midfield and returns it to the 40 in South High territory.
Well, Mark, he was getting rushed by Todd Seiler, number 39 for North, put the pressure on him, and he really should have tried to run that football. He just tried to throw the football away, and instead it went to the one of the North defensive backs and made the interception there. But again, quarterback being pressured, Mayfield, that time by Seiler, rolled out to his right and just threw the ball up for grabs. The pressure has really gotten to him tonight.
North High football. I would like to thank our sponsors for tonight's game: Coca-Cola, Cinnamon Cyclone, Got Jocks, and AJ's Tuxedo Junction. Conley is across the 30 to about the 24-yard line. Jason, number 21, almost breaking it loose as we have a new quarterback in the game for North. That would be number 7, Bobby Boyce. And a clock running at 3:34 to play.
Again, North High is going to keep the ball on the ground here and use up the clock. If they score, fine. If they don't, they don't. It won't matter to them. But their goal here is not to let South get the ball again, Mark.
Keep it on the ground. Chew up that clock. Wide to the left for North is number 27, Bobby Turney, I should say. He's been used more as a decoy tonight for the Stars.
Well, Mayfield's had some tough times tonight, Mark. He's been heavily rushed and been throwing that ball up for grabs a little bit. And in the second half, North has made him pay for some of those throws, especially in the double coverages, zone defenses.
He really hasn't had much of a chance, though. When you're throwing in a dress like that and you're 5'9", it's very difficult to complete passes against a team that's just teeing off on you. You know, football is a team effort. Conley, the ball carrier, gets to about the 25, 26-yard line. The clock going under 3 minutes. And a win for North tonight of 16-0 over South. North will improve to 4-5 this year, and South will fall to 3-6 with one regular season game left for both teams.
Well, Mark, one thing that's hurt Mayfield tonight is that I think he feels he has to make plays. You know, with the running game not going, as a quarterback, you know, you feel some responsibility to make something happen. So he's really had to force that ball in the second half, and nothing's been working.
Yeah, second down situation for North. Ball's given to number 8, Paul Guerrero. With his first carry tonight, normally a defensive player for North. Gets to about the 21-yard line. Duff with a tackle for South.
That's my man, Duff. Sounds like a football name. I love that name.
Could be a baseball player, too.
We'll have to find out if he plays baseball. I do not know.
What's your favorite sport?
Football.
I like them all. 2 minutes to play in the game. Boyce to Guerrero, hit in the backfield and dropped at the 14-yard line. On that note, I have to leave you because I have some interviews to take care of down on the field.
Okay, no problem. And
this game is in the refrigerator.
You got that right. And we'll look forward to some of your candid comments to the coaches after the game.
I think I'll talk to some of the players.
Oh, do that too. Well, here we have a minute and 34 left in the football game. North High with a commanding 16-0 lead. Fourth and 5. Penalty there. North's just going to try to hand the ball and run off the clock here. They're in a running mode right now, so they're just going to run the football and utilize the ball control and try to run this clock down with a minute and 4 left. Fine game tonight by North High. Solid offensively and defensively. South had one opportunity earlier in the first half when they were deep inside North High's territory, and there was a exchange problem between the center and the quarterback Mayfield. Turnover by South High, and that was the deepest. They went into North High territory, their deepest threat, and they came away with nothing, and that was the only opportunity they really had to score in this football game. Since that time, it's been all North High offensively and defensively. I think here in the second half, the size of the North offensive line has tended to dominate the South defense, although South has played well very aggressively and have not given up. They've been fighting hard, but just a little too much talent on the North High end, especially the running game. Second half, they've been able to utilize more of their running game with Small, Seiler, of course, along with Conley, their #1 runner. So they've been able to throw at South High at least 3 runners there, and they tended to tire the South defense a little bit. North High running there on 4th down, did not make a first down, so now it's 1st and 10 for South High, and they're really their last series of the football game. 1st and 10 with 43 seconds left. South High on their 25-yard line. Mark Efron will be with you after the game for some interviews, comments about the game. Time out here by South High. They're going to talk it over. I think the only thing they can really do here is maybe try a couple long passes and go for broke here because they've got a long ways to go. They're on the 25-yard line. Next week, it appears that we'll be able to confirm it later, but probably we'll be doing the Centennial Stockville game. Centennial winning tonight. Centennial, number 3 in the Valley. Bakersfield High Drillers, number 4 in the Valley. They're the 2 top-seeded teams in Kern County. Of course, the number 1 seeded team at this point in the season is Buchanan. They're unbeaten this year. They've already beaten their 2 toughest opponents in the Tri-River Conference in the Clovis area. They've beaten Clovis West, and they've already beaten Clovis, so they're in good shape now with only 1 more game left next week. So they'll probably end up as a number 1 seed. Redwood of Visalia is a number 2 seed. They've already defeated Centennial earlier this year, so the defending Yosemite Division champion. So those 2 teams are 1-2. Centennial's rated number 3 in the Valley, and Bakersfield's number 4. So looks like a interesting playoff situation coming up. If Centennial and Bakersfield can stay 3 and 4, they're going to have some home games starting out the playoffs, and I think it's going to be a very exciting year for Kern County football. One of those schools has a very good opportunity to win the Valley Championship. Mayfield rolling to his right, being chased by a host of North defensive linemen. Scrambled down the right sideline, picked up a first down. 15-yard pickup, first down for South High with 30 seconds left in the football game. It's been all North High here in the second half. Total domination on the offensive and defensive line. Pretty much had their way here, especially in the fourth quarter. I think the only thing North High would really kind of feel bad about would be the kicking game. They've had some difficult time with the snap, and the boys has missed some kicks. But other than that, they've had a solid football game. Mayfield scrambling there, picked up really no gain. Clock down to 14 seconds. And I'm sure for South High, the game can't get over soon enough. 16-0. That'll be the last play of the game, unless we get one more playoff here. We got one more playoff. Mayfield, long pass. Down the side, right sideline, incomplete, overthrown. Final score. North 16, South High Rebels nothing. North has a record now of 4-5, and South goes at 3-6.
It was a day like any other. Mom was baking her famous cinnamon rolls when suddenly the skies grew dark and the winds began to blow. There was no mistake, a cyclone was coming. We ran for cover just in time. And when we returned, the most incredible thing had happened.
Oh, my.
With a taste that'd make your taste buds spin, people came from miles around for just one bite. And you will too, at Cinnamon Cyclone.
Cinnamon Cyclones is now open at 18th and Chester, so stop by. We'll make your taste buds spin.
Get in on all the football action with refreshing Coca-Cola Classic. This game is brought to you by your Coca-Cola bottler in Bakersfield. Always for the fans. Always Coca-Cola.
The final score tonight, North High 16 and South High nothing from Rebel Field. It was homecoming for South, but you guys spoiled the party. With me is quarterback Tim Hatton, number 16. You had an outstanding game. You had time to throw. The play action worked, and your team came out ready to play and really dominated the second half.
Yeah, I'm glad we just came out to play. In the past few weeks, you know, we haven't really shown up and showed the heart, but tonight we came out and did a good job.
It was an important win for your team. You're now 4-5, and you have West next week, so a chance to even up that overall record and improve your standing in the Southwest Yosemite League.
Yeah, go out with the best record we can, just, you know, helps out.
I liked on one of the last drives, you utilized about 4 or 5 running backs on your last touchdown drive, and it showed a lot of diversity in your offense.
Yeah, we're trying to change things up, you know, keying on Conley, you know, he's made our main back all year, just trying to switch things up.
And speaking of the main back, Mr. Conley, number 21, a fine effort by you tonight. The North High offensive and defensive lines did a great job really controlling the trenches, so to speak.
Yeah, we didn't do a real good job containing the run last week. This week, we knew that they saw the film, and we knew that they were going to try to run the sweep. So we worked on that all week, and we perfected it a little bit.
And virtually every outside play that they ran, you guys stopped it for loss of yardage.
Yeah, we've been working on that all week, and we knew it was coming, and so we had to expect it.
Well, you guys needed a win tonight. You got it. You're now 4-5, and you have West next week. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, West is struggling this year. We should go out in 5-5, and and just hopefully make something better of what was a kind of a mishap year.
Jason Conley, number 21, Tim Haddon, number 16. Tonight's final score, North High 16, South nothing. I'm Mark Heffernan on Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.